let's go through the bar equipment. First off, we have our Boston shaker. There are different shakers, but this is the most common shaker that you'll find in bars. And it consists out of a big tin and a small tin. When you fill the shaker, always fill the small tin, because what happens if we fill the big tin? If we fill the big tin all the way up and then put the small tin inside, what's going to happen is it's going to overflow. So we max out our small tin, and that way we know that the shaker won't overflow. And to measure the content of every cocktail, we use what's called a jigger. And the jigger has measurements inside of it, where you can see how much you're pouring. And the way to use the jigger is not to pour like this. You want to pour like this, because if you're going to do this movement 200 times a day, your shoulder is going to take a beating. So the best way to hold it is like this, and just pour it like that, with the wrist, with the movement of the wrist. And when you're pouring into the jigger, you're using the bottle and you're holding it with 2 fingers like this, because if you hold it with your whole hand, you don't have full movement. Oh, look, this is so awkward. You don't have full movement of your wrist. So if you hold it with 2 fingers, you can easily tip the bottle and pour like that. Okay, so you tip the bottle and pour like that. Okay, so you swing the bottle to gain momentum, and once the bottle is upside down, it's very easy to pour. Now the jigger has a smaller part, which is called the pony, and if you want smaller measurements, just do halfway up on the big one. Okay, because if you turn it upside down, it's going to drip on the mat. Everything's going to get sticky, it's going to drip on the ice. So always just use the big measurement cup. This piece of equipment is called the Hawthorne strainer. And this piece is used for the shaker, like so. And this is to pour out the contents without the ice coming out. Let me demonstrate practically. So this goes on top of the shaker, and to demonstrate visibly, this is how you would pour it. Okay, so if you didn't have this, it would just, there's no way to strain the ice out of the liquid. This is called a fine strainer, and this is used together with the Hawthorne strainer. This is to filter out all the small ice shards that are otherwise float on top of your drink. Let me show you what that looks like. So instead of just using the Hawthorne strainer, we're going to combine it together with the fine strainer, and we can pour it like this. Now we can see in the close-up here how much residue is caught in the fine strainer. And this is stuff that you don't want in the drink. So that's why we use it. The next piece of equipment is the mixing glass. And the mixing glass is used for dry martinis, old fashions, Negronis. So drinks that don't contain juice in them. No citric juice, no passion fruit juice, no pineapple juice, just boozy cocktails. And the way to use it is, first we pour the liquids into the mixing glass without having ice in. Okay, so let's pretend we're doing a dry martini. And once we have all our spirits in the mixing glass, we can add the ice. And this is because as soon as you add the ice into the mixing glass, it starts melting. Even though it's just a few seconds, try to keep this habit, because you might be interrupted by a guest. Oh, can I have a glass of water? Can I have a Coke over there? All right, sure. So you need to leave it and go and help them. And then when you come back, if you had ice in the mixing glass, the drink is now going to be diluted and you will not have mixed it properly. So that's why we do all the ingredients first, and then we do the ice as a last step. And before mixing it, I'm going to prep my glass with ice for my cocktail. Okay, so this is the glass I'm serving my cocktail in. It has the ice, and now I'm adding the ice to the mixing glass. And notice how I don't touch the ice, okay? So try, this is just a reflex from my part, but try not to touch the ice with your hands, because it's really not very hygienic, okay? And we'll use the bar spoon. Notice how the bar spoon is twisted, and that's because it's made to spin in your hands. Okay, so I'm gently pushing the spoon with my fingers like this, and it's almost automatically mixing itself. And to taste if the cocktail is good, I'm just gonna do a drop on my hand like that. I'm not touching the spoon on my hand. I'm just letting one drop drizzle down on my hand. And that's how we know it's good. All right, so once we're done with that, we can either put the spoon aside, or if you prefer, you can leave it in. And we're going to use the next piece of bar equipment, the julep strainer. And the julep strainer goes on top of the mixing glass like so. And then with our finger, we can just hold it in place. And now we're free to pour the cocktail into its glass. Look at that. Perfect measure. And the last piece of equipment is our fruit peeler. Or actually it can peel anything, but mainly for fruit. Now there are many different types of peelers. I would recommend not to use this type of peeler, since you have all the weight and force on this side of the peeler, and peeling the fruit, it's slightly awkward in comparison to using this type of peeler, where you have a lot more leverage and force. And now, going back to our drink, once we have our peel, we can gently perfume the cocktail like that with the oils of the citrus. And we can either drop it in like this, or we can cut it a little bit with a bar knife, of course. And I like to do different types of cuts where we can garnish the drink more elaborately, or we can just put it like that. There are many ways to do it, but you get the gist of it. And this concludes the bar equipment part.